right, welcome everybody to our Business Agility Learning Series. I'm excited for y'all to be joining us here today. We have a great topic in store. And my name is Ross Libby. I'm a volunteer that is helping with this Global Business Agility Conference that's happening in just a short week from now. And quickly on that, so if you have not heard about it, March 22nd through the 25th is the Global Business Agility Virtual Conference, where you're truly going to have an opportunity to hear from thought leaders and people across the globe, as this is a conference that is happening really in conjunction across the globe, all time zones, all hours of the day. Your ticket gets you access to all of that. And the tickets are affordably priced, with all proceeds going to a really good cause, Doctors Without Borders. We'll get in the chat info on that in case you haven't heard about it or do you want to hear a little bit more. But let's talk about today. So a reminder, this is being recorded. Also, really, you're probably on mute by default. There will be opportunity to ask some questions or use the chat throughout, and we can make sure if you can unmute yourself, you raise your hand, we can unmute you and all that good stuff. But let me talk about our speaker today and the topic. So we have with us today Fabiola Eyholzer. She is a founder and CEO of Just Leading Solutions. And they're a consultancy company based in lean, agile people operations that are helping enterprises on this transformation business agility by specifically focusing on that critical aspect of their people, which also relates to the topic for the day. And as you can see here, she'll be talking about the art of the People Runway. So over to you, Fabiola.
Thank you so much, Ross, and welcome everyone to our learning session today to talk about something that is really close to my heart and something that has been my passion for a long time. We are talking about the People Runway. But before we dive into that topic, I'd love to know a bit more about our audience today. So if you had to describe your current role, what would you say? Are you an in-house HR leader or professional consultant, or are you more from the agile space, or are you a consultant or educator, or is your role different, so that we know who we're working with today? So Ross just launched the poll for us, so if you take a couple of seconds to just let us know something about yourself. Thank you so much. So we have a lot of agile folks in the room, which is great. So you'll be familiar with a lot of the concepts that we are talking about today. Okay, so without further ado, let's move in. So we're going to talk about something that we call the hidden people debt crisis. So what's the problem? As leaders and HR folks, we hear a lot of concerns about people topics. So it usually includes anything and everything from slow hiring processes to lack of suitable career frameworks, to the organization's frustration with outdated HR processes, things like performance management practices that are just not that much aligned with the way that we're working in the agile space. So we see all that unresolved agile stuff and HR stuff that is actually slowing us down. So let's have a look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the good thing is that everyone in the organization talks about the importance of people to the success of the organization. But unfortunately, it's often so much just a lip service. And other things are always more important and more urgent and higher prioritized. So that at the end of the day, we're just having that problem of dismissing the necessary investments into people. So the sad thing is that most organizations are aware of the challenge, but they are either unwilling or incapable of following through. And that really leads to that people debt crisis. So what is people debt? So since many of you are from the agile space, you'll be familiar with the concept of technical debt. So technical debt that really reflects the implied cost of additional rework that is caused by choosing an easy solution now instead of using a better approach that would take a bit longer. So the idea of people debt really builds on the same concept, and it's about the costs and the risks that are accumulated by neglecting the human aspects of delivering value and by not making the necessary investments into people. And of course, both people and technical debt will always occur to a certain degree, And they may even make sense in specific situations, but only if we manage it. So if we just leave it unchecked, it will just accumulate very quickly. And eventually it's going to bring your business to a breaking point. So unpaid people debt has so many negative consequences. So you have things like low morale and employee engagement, and that will lead to inferior value delivery and lower customer satisfaction. But it's also going to impede your innovation capacity, and you will suffer at the end of it. You're going to be less resilient and less adaptive as an organization. And at the end of the day, it's going to undermine your own transformation efforts. So if you're experiencing any of these topics here, you know that your people debt is probably too high for comfort. I want to put this question to you all. So, what do you see? What are telltale signs of an organization, of a culture that has that high people debt, that is accumulating the risks and impediments that come from not addressing people topics and HR topics? So we would like to do a breakout session at this point, and Ross will talk you through the technical stuff of getting into your breakout rooms, and we'll be using Jamboard to guide you through. So some of you may be familiar with Jamboard already. It's an easy tool that you can use to capture your input. So we'll send out the links shortly, and you'll get to this landing page, and then on top here, you see that little icon that tells you what page you're on. So you just click to the next page, and then on the side here, you've got that little icon that allows you to add a sticky note. You type in your message, you put it up, and then you can shift it around. So it's very straightforward to use, and I let Ross tell you all about how to get into your breakout sessions.
Yeah, and just quick, Fabiola, you think 2 breakout rooms right now?
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Okay. So I will chat those in here, which they should persist now in the breakout rooms. And then I'm going to be enabling breakout rooms, and you'll get assigned at random. But then if you're in breakout room 1, you're team 1. If you're in breakout room 2, you're team 2, and you'll see the link there. And we can also, just to make sure, pop them in our in your breakout rooms. But this chat should carry forward. Any questions as I'm getting those enabled? Feel free to use the chat too.
And also, if you have questions, once you're already in the breakout sessions, there is a little icon that is called, I think, call for help or something. So you just click that button, and either Ross or myself will come in and help you sort out whatever your question is.
And so I am enabling them now, and 10 minutes, as Fabiola said, and your Jamboard link.
10 minutes would be great. Just talk through it. What signs do you see that is indicating that you're not addressing the HR and people stuff enough? Make sure to capture your input, and when we come back, each group gets to share their thoughts and ideas.
And then maybe quickly, to us, ask a question. Is the Jamboards have this question on it?
Yes, it does.
Okay, perfect, because that is helpful as they get into the breakout room. So I'm going to open them now.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a good first breakout session. Let's talk through some of your input and ideas. Who would like to present for the first team? Do we have any volunteers from the first team, team 1? Don't be shy. I promise I won't bite. Any volunteers?
Come on, Miguel. Come on, Leslie. You can do it. I want to call you guys out. Okay, I'll share. Couple of things we talked about. Employee turnover, we talked quite a bit about, of having too high turnaround could be bad. But then I shared a story about how too low of turnover could also be an issue of we weren't investing enough in our team, so nobody wanted our team members, so no one was leaving the organization, and our skill sets were getting old. So we weren't investing enough in our people to actually make them, marketable and wanting to leave and wanting to go to other organizations because they were just comfortable in the world they were in. Talked a lot about like roles and responsibilities, and if people aren't sure of what those are, it can lead to some issues, both in like regular team members and leadership, low morale and engagement, poor collaboration. So if you're not seeing good collaboration, and then an outcome of that you could potentially see of people debt is bad customer service.
Right, thank you so much. Anything to add from the rest of the group?
Oh, I think Jeremy explained clearly. Very good. Thank you, Jeremy, for leading the group in this way.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Let's move on to team 2. Who would like to present for the second team? Well, Jeremy can't do it for you. You'll have to volunteer for this one.
I can try.
I see some great sticky notes up here.
Well, I guess I can try. So we talk about having high attrition rate for the employees. They don't want to stay around. There's no low morale engagement, that's for sure. People are doing basically 9 to 5 and not a minute more. Or if they're actually there, they're doing the minimum required. Don't ask me anything more, leave me alone. Or even if they're there 9 to 5, they take lots of breaks, lots of coffee breaks, bio breaks, or even you're not sure what they're actually doing in front of the computer. They could be on Facebook, Instagram, playing games, who knows. There also, we talk about gaming the system, because HR people love to send out surveys. And so different groups, I actually have experience of different groups actually making a game to say which office around the world can actually have the best results, to actually give the best results so that they will be left alone. So yeah, so there will be a lot of gaming the system. There's also lack of innovation and improvement. Oh, well, yeah, and then tons of passive aggressive behaviors like eye rolling, being sarcastic, things like that. There's also a lot of CYA, making sure that they are protecting themselves. And of course, there's a lot of paranoia from the staff or micromanaging from the management. And yeah, conflicts with people, resistance, lack of innovation, improvements. Anything else to add, team 2?
Awesome job. You covered it all.
Woohoo!
Thank you so much, Moonway. You've given us a lot of things to talk about and to think about. So here are the things that we see when we go into organizations, sort of telltale signs for people that culture. And here's the problem with people that, it doesn't come with a warning label. So it doesn't say, hey, be careful, this is going to accumulate people that. So you have to try and spot it and look out for things. And some practices like micromanagement that you mentioned, or richer career paths, are really easy to spot. But then others are much harder to identify, because a lot of it comes sort of disguised in well-established practices and concepts and principles. And it's really hard to challenge those. So I have listed a couple of here, but I want to highlight a few of them, starting with the term performance, or performance rating. So too many organizations, and that also includes agile organizations, still consider performance as a combination of that hard work and good planning and successful completion of tasks or user stories. But let me ask you this. So what team would you rather be part of? Or what team would you consider to be a high-performing team? A team that always hits its numbers but plays it safe? Or do you want to be part of team B that is experimenting and that learns and course corrects and takes risks in doing experimentations and going out of their way? So even if that means they may not hit their numbers and miss the mark here and there. So we have to understand, what does performance mean, especially performance in an environment where we want people to experiment, to innovate, to be creative, to think outside the box. We cannot do that with the same performance management approach. And that also ties in with the second one that I want to highlight, efficiency. So what does efficiency mean? It means we have those streamlined processes, and continuous improvement is not done through experimentation, through learning, through course correction, but it's really done through ticking those boxes. So when you think about things like job descriptions and individual MBOs and incentive plans, that all of that goes back into that thinking of efficiency and the company being a well-oiled machine. But the problem is, an agile organization is like an ecosystem. It gets messy. We can't just say, this is what you're going to do for the rest of the year and everything is going to be fine. No, we need to be able to have that learning and that creativity. And that also means, if we just focus on efficiency, we cannot learn, we cannot experiment, we can't think outside the box, we can't do anything other than what is scripted. And that's actually hindering us to be the type of organization, so do the type of value, create the type of value, do the type of work that we are looking for. And the last one that I want to highlight here ties back into that as well. And it's something that may come as a surprise that it's up on this list, but we see the more that companies focus on pay for performance and meritocracy, the more people that they have. So, and you know the concept of meritocracy, it's this promise that everyone has equal opportunity. And if you work hard and if you do your job, you're going to be awarded. But the problem is, this is a false promise. What happens when hard work and accomplishment don't result in promotions and salary raises? So studies from MIT and other institutes have really shown repeatedly that meritocracy is a myth, and that practices like pay for performance don't play out as intended. And even worse, they make us think that we have created this fair and correct evaluation system, and that everyone has the same opportunities. But that's the reality is, it is actually inhibiting equality and opportunity and diversity. So it's really something to think about. If we thrive on having a diverse culture, if we thrive on people bringing in their uniqueness, and that we embrace diversity of thought, we cannot align that with meritocracy. And unfortunately, we don't have time to dig in deeper into that. But if you want to read up more on that or learn more about it, let me know. So it's really interesting to see how a concept that sounds great, that has great intentions, is actually not playing out the way we think it is. And that's something that we see with a lot of the HR practices and ways of approaching HR, that we do it with our best intentions. But sometimes our best intentions need a do-over, and we need to really look into, are any of these practices, the way we interact with people, the way we lead people, are they helping or hindering us in creating a culture that is really managing people, that is investing in people and making sure that we leverage HR to the max. So a question to you all, and we're going to launch another poll here. Is, what would you say, if you look at your own organization, or if you're an external consultant at one of your customers, your major customer or major initiative that you're working with right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how big is the accumulated people that in your organization or in your client's organization? So 1 means it's like, tiny, it's minute, and 10 is it's extremely high. So we're going to launch this poll here. So if you could just tell us, what do you think, how high is the people that in your organization? Okay. So we have anything between sort of a 4 to 10. So we see the people that is happening in the organizations. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Okay, so let's dive into what it actually takes to fix it and who the heck should get it done. So let's start off with the first question here. So what will it actually take to fix the people that crisis? Okay, so first of all, we need that unwavering focus on people. And I'm not talking about lip service. I'm not talking about having nice slides and nice statements to tell the organization that people are the most important outlet. It's actually aligning your people approach, your leadership approach, your practices, and your techniques to that promise, to that understanding that the differentiator in a modern organization is the people, can leverage people, what they know, their experiences, their skill, their knack for innovation and creativity. Can they use that to create customer value? We have to make sure that our leadership style aligns with this new mindset. You know, you mentioned micromanagement, stuff like that. It has no place in an agile organization. The other part is really aligning those HR practices. So that leads us to the second question: who the heck should get it done? So, and I've listed here three typical candidates. So on the one hand, we have the HR manager, HR business partner, we have your leadership team, or you have your lean agile center of excellence, or your LACE. So let's go through it. So when we talk about HR managers and HR business partners, we also have to talk about the way HR is organized. And most businesses, especially in larger organizations, are organized around the Dave Ulrich model. That says, hey, HR actually needs to be 4 things. So they need to be a strategic partner, they need to be an administrative expert, they need to be a change agent, and they need to be an employee champion. So, you know, when we look at it, it's all there. But since one person cannot be all, it actually splits HR into different teams. So we have our center of expertise, so our specialists, so your compensation folks and performance management folks. We have our shared service center that deals with more the administrative stuff. And we have our HR business partners who are going to go in and really work with the teams. So, and as agile folks, we want people to be, we want our HR people to be the people champions and those change agents. So the model is apparently there, but why are we not getting that value that we are looking for? Why do we still feel that there is a disconnect that we need to address? Okay, and one of that has to do with the understanding of what does an HR business partner do and how much time do they actually have. So when we look at HR business partners, you know, we think that they would spend 70, 80, 90% of their time on their employees, you know, on you guys, on us all, but that's not the reality. So most of their time is really spent in meetings and on recruiting and administrative work. And that means that an HR business partner only gets to spend about 5 to 20% of their time on employee relations. So that's about 2 to 8 hours a week. And in my experience, it tends to be more on the lower rather than the upper end. So now let's have a look at how many people an HR business partner works with and is responsible for. So they are typically responsible for something about 100 to 800 people. So if you think about that, if you only have 8 hours a week available to deal with, let's say, 100 people, that makes less than 5 minutes per week per employee. But then to be fair to HR business partners, we also have to understand that their role is not to actually be the people manager, to lead people. Their role is to make sure to collaborate with the center of expertise on systemic initiatives and make sure that the managers, the leader in the organization, are actually employing and using the HR business practices and processes the way they were intended. So the HR business partner is not the one who can actually deal with that. So we have to look at our leaders. And the challenge that we have here is that managers have to wear different hats. You know, traditionally managers take care of anything from planning, organizing, staffing, leading, controlling. And even though Agile has redefined it, and in some organizations you split those leadership roles into different authorities. So you have your process authority, your content authority, your design authority. But the question is, who's really the people authority? And here's the problem for leaders. They constantly have to make the choice between a people topic and the deliverable. And guess what? If they have to decide whether to invest in a people topic or invest in the client deliverable, the people topic will almost always lose out. So it's probably not going to be important enough or urgent enough to actually make the cut. So the question then is, how are they going to manage that? How are they going to put people first if they have to go into that balancing act, and the people and the client topic is going to win out? So that actually leaves our LAs, our agile transformation folks. And while they are really vital to bringing the HR topic to the actual transformation, ensuring that we are dealing with the HR stuff, that we are aligning our HR processes and practices and the way that we deal with people to the way that we work in an actual setting. They are not actually there to handle the day-to-day stuff that we have in the space. So, you know, they have to deal with stakeholders and communication and training and coaching and so on and so forth. So they don't have the time to actually go in and deal with people on the kind of level that we're looking for. So the question is, what's the solution here? So what we really need is an interdisciplinary agile HR team and dedicated people developers. So what is a people developer? A people developer is really your champion for people. It's the people authority. It's on the agile transformation. So it's someone who's really responsible to put people first, to identify and handle emerging workforce dynamics, monitor and leverage talent pipelines and trends, and deal with all the HR related topics. So together with the Agile HR transformation team, they can really maximize the individual and team success by taking on the challenge of building and maintaining the People Runway. So let's talk about the People Runway. So what is the People Runway? Since most of you come from the Agile space, you will be familiar with the architectural runway that provides the necessary technical foundation to develop business initiatives and sort of implement new features and capabilities. And the People Runway is really similar. It's about everything you do to ensure that the combined strengths and abilities and skills and experiences of the current workforce allow for continuous delivery and optimized flow. So to maintain the People Runway, we need to look ahead and make sure that our workforce is ready for whatever is to come. So here are a couple of things that we need to do to build a strong People Runway. So on the one hand, we really need to understand what are the workforce dynamics. What do we mean by that? You know, when we have different teams come together, different individuals come together, it's not just about the skills, the capabilities, the competencies that they bring to the table, but it's also how do we leverage how they collaborate? Are they a good fit? So if you're into sports, you'll have seen that over and over again, that it really depends on the team fit as well. You see teams that are in the zone, that are in the flow, because they collaborate. So and we need to make sure that we leverage that. So not just from a technical standpoint, but also from an interpersonal standpoint. We need to engage in relentless talent enablement. So we're not just talking about talent development, but how do we make sure that people can bring their A game, that they are being challenged but not overwhelmed, that they can do their best work. And we need to drive performance acceleration. And you see, I'm not using the word performance management. This is really about what do we do to enable performance, to improve performance, and help teams have higher value delivery in a way that is meaningful and in a way that aligns with those agile values and practices. And we have to apply dynamic workforce planning. How can we be more adaptive to what we're doing? How do we make sure we understand our talent pipeline and start building that out? And we need that whole HR and leadership landscape to really tackle that, to make sure that we have that strong people runway, that we reduce or at least manage people that in a meaningful way, and that we really put people center stage. And what we want to do here now is send you back into your breakout sessions to think about what would you do, or what are you already doing? What experiments, what initiatives are you doing to actually build that strong people runway? And for this exercise, we're going to put you back into your breakout sessions. You can use the Jamboards again. Just go to the next page. So you just click up here, you get to the next page, and you can start putting that in. When we come back, you'll get a chance to share back your thoughts and ideas again, and we can talk things through, and I can share with you some of the initiatives and experiments that we are working on. So what questions or comments do you have for us before Ross launches the new breakout session?
I know one question that came in, Fabiola, was around when you're talking about meritocracy and reading your articles. If you have anything specific, there was one I found on the MIT paper I shared, but if you want to validate that or share anything more, or after breakouts, people are interested.
The MIT paper is certainly a good starting point to get your thinking caps on, because we're challenging existing notions, especially in Western culture. That meritocracy is something that is deeply ingrained within our organizations. So that is something great to read. But I can look at it and add some more stuff to it as you're in the breakout sessions. Other questions or thoughts from the group before we launch the breakout rooms? Okay. If not, I'll see you back here in 10 minutes. Enjoy your breakout sessions, and we'll get to see all your fun great ideas and experiments when we come back. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a great second breakout session, and we'll go to our Jamboards for a share back. So this time, let's start with Team 2. Who is volunteering to present for Team 2?
I probably can go this time. One of our most interesting points of discussion was that we should view employee experience as the seamless journey. So all the companies mostly super obsessed about the customer experience and how they serve the customers. And in this regard, we should shift the perspective towards focusing on employee experience, which starts long before the person joins the company. So from building the employer brand to all the touch points across your lifetime in the company or with the company. And of course, that will require multiple changes, mostly in the structures in the management systems, be it the change the performance management system and reward and recognition systems, but also the way managers manage. So of course, structural changes. And one more thing is the necessity of pulling in the support of external specialists within some very sensitive topics where companies are not necessarily as much aware because they tend to have blind spots, simply because of the nature of us as human beings doing things the way we do them and biases. So the necessity to rely on the specialists and experts, for example, in diversity and inclusion field, might definitely support building the capabilities the company needs to have strong people runway. Anything I
Thank-
missed, team?
No, I think you covered it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadesta. Okay, let's go to the first team, team one. Who will present for team one?
So I can try to summarize. I wasn't able to actually use the Jamboard because of some company policies, but I'll try to summarize the discussion I heard. So one of the concepts was setting an expectation around 50 days of learning. So if you think about that, that equates to almost 1 day a week, but it's not necessarily going and taking that day every week to go and sit in a classroom or something. It's just setting an expectation that people should be learning, and as they find opportunity to learn, we have given them room and space to be able to spend time learning in whatever way makes sense for whatever thing it is that they're trying to sort of work on. As part of those 50 days of learning, there were things such as internal conferences and hackathons, quarterly demo days, which were sort of described as a one giant science fair back whenever people were in person, where people could just come around and see everything that everybody's working on, and how that that enables a natural collaboration around initiatives that might not have happened otherwise. There was also the concept of pairing up new employees with mentors, and just the natural ways of team-based working and design thinking also sort of naturally grow folks. So I don't know if I missed anything from my team, but speak up and let me know if I did.
It was perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, John. Okay, some really great ideas and experiments. And let me share with you a couple of things that my team and I have been working on in the past 12 to 18 months. So it's just a selection. And you'll see some of the experiments and initiatives are smaller ones, more operational, but then others are like really large initiatives, more strategic ones that really take a concerted effort. Okay, so let me highlight a couple of them. Starting out with job ads. So you're probably thinking, what the heck is she talking about? What do job ads have to do with anything? So, but this one here is a really interesting one. So are your job ads more something like a copy-pasted job descriptions, or do they inspire people and tell a story? Because you want to show candidates what you're all about, what you stand for, and you want to make them inclusive. And here's the problem. Most job ads today are really geared towards extroverted male candidates. So by changing the imagery and the language, the narrative, you can significantly improve the quantity and the quality of your candidate pool. And you will see the increase immediately. So with one of our clients that is in the global talent space, they saw their numbers skyrocket. So for some jobs, the numbers the numbers of high quality candidate resumes that they would receive and multiplied 40-fold. So when they were previously received 5 exceptional applications in 2 months, they now got 10 a week. Just by changing the language, by making the language more inclusive, things like tech ninjas is very male dominated, it's very extroverted dominated. So by changing that language, you can really improve your talent pool and make that stronger. And if you have a stronger candidate pool, you obviously get a better talent pool as well. And once you have that really great talent pool, you also want to make sure that you avoid unutilized and underutilized talent. So, and that goes back to something else. So traditionally, we will promote employees based on their previous achievements, but without actually testing if they can master the new role. I mean, how often have we seen the best developer being promoted to a team leader just to find out that he or she or they didn't really like the job? And we actually ruined 2 jobs in the process. So the exploratory assignments, in a way, is your try before you buy approach. So they allow you to validate or disprove assumptions about the job and see if a person is actually thrives in that role, if that role is really what they thought it would be like, and if they are best equipped to actually take on this role. And what's really interesting, it will also lead to better career choices, and it will increase your talent mobility. And it's really having that tested understanding of the potential of your workforce. Because by opening up your career paths to exploratory assignments, you are also sending people the message of we are investing in you. We are investing in your career, and we take an interest in what we're doing, and we are personalizing your career approach. And that actually brings me to the third one here, and that's talent enablement. The talent enablement is essentially about helping people reach their potential faster than they could on their own. So this includes making sure that HR and people processes are suitable, and you want to identify unconscious biases and blind spots, and you want to identify them quickly. I mean, we've seen over and over again that companies have tons of tools and techniques for their best people, you know, their champions, their high potential, the people who would thrive in any kind of setting, but they actually miss out on the opportunity to provide guidance and opportunities for people who can thrive if we put them into the right setting, if they get the right encouragement. And, you know, we have to stop thinking about high potential pools. If we're going to have high potential, we're going to have high flyers, we're going to have people who are amazing. But then at the same time, every single person in our organization has to be a talent. Every single person comes in with a unique set of skills and experiences and the potential that we want to leverage. But this is not about the potential of taking the next step in a predefined career trajectory. This is really about having the potential to thrive in a natural setting, to flex their muscles, to collaborate, to co-create. And we need to acknowledge the talent of everyone. And, you know, sometimes the talent of a person is not to be the high flyer, it's not to be the best performer, but to help everyone else be a great performer, to stand up for the team, to jump in, to be the glue of the team. We need to value that just as much as we value someone who is that high flyer. And as you see here, some of the experiments are really big, like the performance acceleration program. How do we shift from trying to manage performance? And by the way, we can no longer talk about managing performance in a natural setting, because this is not about managing a performance. It's about helping the team accelerate their performance. It's about acknowledging what does it take in a natural setting to deliver value to the customer and make sure that that happens. And as you see here, some of the experiments, sorry about that, was too quick. Some of the experiments are big experiments and big initiatives like transparent salary systems, like micro-learning programs, but others are small ones that you can try out with your team today or tomorrow. So you can get onto that very quickly. But the question is, why should we even care about this stuff? Why does it matter? So, and here's the thing, taking care of people is one, the right thing to do, but two, it's also smart for your business. So what we see with our clients, they really accelerate business agility. And make no mistake, HR is the key to business agility. If we do not fix our HR and people approach, we're not going to be a truly agile business. So if you want to accelerate that transformation success, invest in your people, invest in your HR services. So, and what we see is happening is that you really increase your potential for creativity and innovation. How many companies complain that people are not innovative enough, that they are not creative enough, that they are not thinking outside the box? But then when you look at the HR processes, we're sticking people into boxes. We have your job descriptions and your individual incentives and your performance plans. That is sticking people into box. That's not helping you be innovative. So if we create a different way of doing things, we're going to increase your innovation power. And we're certainly also going to improve your transformation lead times and success. We're going to boost employee engagement and success. And we're going to make sure that your company is fit to thrive in the human economy. Because again, today, people are your differentiator. Having the ability to actually leverage the potential of people is what's going to make a difference. So if we can make that happen, we are creating those actual organizations that we can be proud of and that we want to be working in. And if you want to read up more on this, you can download our latest white paper on the topic. It's just scan it, it's free to download it, and it gives you more insights. But I want to open up the floor for questions at this point. I see that we have a couple of questions in the chat already, but you can either put it there or we can open up the floor. Okay, so the first question was around exploratory assignments. So it says that it's trying to mitigate the Peter principle. Yes, that's true, but it also puts you into a position to really understand where are people at in their career? What do they consider growth? You're investing in those individual interactions. We use growth profiles to do that. So it's a technique to really see where do people want to go to, what equipped them to actually get there, and having those dialogues, because you want to know what people see as the next step, and it's a step in their growth profile. So we can really adjust that, and it's just going to help you understand your workforce in a way that is simply not possible with traditional ways of approaching career and talent management.
So I guess my question is actually a little bit more around, like, we look at this traditional, like this very linear career path, right? You start as an individual contributor, maybe a developer or whatever, and then eventually, like you said, right, we promote this person to a team lead or maybe give them an exploratory assignment to see if it would be a good fit. But what about, you know, those people, this is like the first example that comes off the top of my head, is like somebody who would maybe be an excellent, you know, team lead, but is not cut out to be an individual contributor. So like you can't even get them, they're not in your pipeline, right? You can't really, like, have you looked at alternate ways to get people into the pipeline or get them in the door when, you know, maybe they're not cut out for like step 1 or step 2, but they might be really ideally suited for step 3?
So it's again going back to understanding where people are at. And, you know, when we look at a career, we look at it sort of like the career kaleidoscope. So does anyone know how many mirrors a kaleidoscope has?
No idea.
It's just 3 different mirrors. So, and in the perspective of a career, it's really about, you know, the skills that you have, that you've accumulated over the years, the interests that you have, and your values. And, you know, over time, it changes, just like the pattern on a kaleidoscope. When you twist it and turn it, it changes. And you're trying to understand where are people at today and what are their strengths. So if you say someone may not be the best individual contributor, but they lead the team, they are helping everyone else on the team, then you start building out those skills. And you'll see that they may be interested in taking on a team lead, and you can then put them into an exploratory assignment opportunity. So, but you're working with the individual, you're investing into their career, you're doing career coaching on a regular basis. So our folks do check-ins once a month, and then every 3 months they do a bigger overhaul to see, okay, where are people at, what are we going to do, what opportunities are we going to give them, and then the people developers actually get together and talk things through. So you may say, let's call our potential team lead Peter. So if we say, hey, Peter is really great, you may have a different team that says, hey, we want to experiment with this, or Peter's team leader is going off on vacation, why don't have Peter actually be the team lead for some time? But you're looking out for those indicators that are going to tell you, hey, Peter is actually better at leading people, at inspiring people than he is to actually contribute himself.
Thank you.
What other questions do we have or comments?
I have a question regarding, I think a lot of agile transformations involve some form of org design. You know, there's blueprinting phases and all that to say, well, structurally or operationally, we need to change. I'd be curious in your perspectives on how you see those either going, or where is the risk, maybe specifically when you don't bring in that people side of things, or truly bringing expertise on that side of things.
So you mean during the transformation process when we do a reorg?
Yeah, because I guess most transformations seem to have some form of reorg, or that don't always seem to be handled as maybe delicately or as appropriately as they should be. So I'd be curious in your thoughts, or what are secrets to maybe helping with that?
Yes, you have to include your change management and communication experts very early on. And when I'm talking change management, I don't mean it in a traditional sense, because we're not managing change. We are building a transformation, or we're investing in a transformation. So anything that we do from a communication, from a change management perspective, has to support the agile transformation and has to align with agile values and principles. To give you an example, when we do a transformation, the first step is usually to train everyone so that everyone has that new vocabulary, understands what we're doing, why we're doing things. And then you want them to take the exam. But instead of sending out reminder emails to tell people, hey, Ross, you haven't taken your exam, make sure to take your exam, you only have 3 days left. We actually built a Hall of Fame website, or put it up on the intranet or SharePoint or Google Sites, whatever tool you're using. And everyone who has successfully passed the exam will be up there. So people actually want to be up there as well. They have that intrinsic motivation of taking the exam because it's part of their learning journey. So whatever we are doing on the change management and communication side really has to align with those agile values and principles. We want to empower people. So the way that we are doing has to be empowering. And it's communication, communication, communication. Because change is challenging for people. We are all used to flex our muscles. We are adaptive as a species. We've had to prove that in the past year. But we don't like change either. So how do we make sure that that happens? It's really about a lot of communication and telling people why we are doing things. This intent has to come through. And that is something that we often see that is lacking with leaders. They cannot tell people why. They cannot articulate the why. Either because they've not gone through the process of defining the why themselves, they jumped into the solution straight away, or they feel uncomfortable sharing that. So the intent, the why has to be very clear. We have to communicate that and make sure that people feel comfortable with that change. And to make sure that people feel comfortable with bigger changes, we have to make sure they feel comfortable with smaller changes. That's where that learning, that micro learning comes in. How do we get people to flex their muscles all the time? Because when we talk about learning, this is not classroom learning. Yes, there is a time and space for classroom learning, but then how do we embed learning into the workflow so that people constantly flex their muscles? So for instance, IBM has Micah. Micah is a learning bot. So, and every year, every employee has to do 12 hours of learning, micro-learning. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds up. So in the morning, when you switch on your laptop, it would go, hey, Ross, welcome. I haven't seen you in a while. Here's a little video that you could watch. It's just 3 minutes. I think you would really enjoy it. And then you can say, oh, yes, I want to watch this. I want to learn. Or, hey, remind me later. So there are a lot of things that you can do to help people flex their muscles so that change is not a disruption, it's not something that has a negative touch, but something that is just not something that flows naturally and something that people see as a chance. Hey, we can learn, we can experiment, and we can improve. What other questions or comments do we have from the group?
I'll take an opportunity to ask one more then. I'd be curious, how have you seen HR, the people function evolve, or what are maybe some of the industry leaders in terms of how they act? And I guess I'd be specifically curious, are you seeing them be less of than like a function or a centralized function versus embedded in different business areas or business units?
Mm-hmm. So we see more and more that an interdisciplinary HR team is embedded within the agile transformation or within the units themselves. So if you have the product unit or the innovation hub or whatever your units are called, we have an embedded HR team there. So we see a shift happening there. And there's something that we see quite often, or that we hear quite often from the HR community, is that they say, hey, HR doesn't care. Or, HR just thinks about people as resources. And I have to tell you, it's simply not true. It's one of those urban legends. I've been in the HR space for more than 20 years now. So, and I've literally met thousands of HR folks, and I still have to meet the one who thinks about people as resources. They want to do great things for people. Yes, our best intentions may sometimes need a do-over, and HR has a long way to go. Definitely agree with that, but the sentiment that HR thinks about people's resources is not true. So, but a lot of the challenges that we have within HR are not necessarily HR topics. Some of them are leadership topics that we have to address as well. So how are we changing our leadership approach? How are we changing the mindset? And how do we truly understand what's the real pain point? So a lot of the times people complain about HR stuff where the root cause is something different. To give you an example, people complain about title structure. They're not happy with title structure. But when we dig deeper, we actually realize that it's not so much about title structure, but it's more about the way promotions are being done and the way that specific roles have a specific status. So people know, if we want to have a specific status in the organization, or if I want to be recognized for the great work I'm doing, I need to get that promotion. I need to get a fancier title. So we have to truly understand what is happening and what is going on. And yes, HR has a long way to go, and it definitely needs a transformation. This will not be done just through changing a couple of things. We truly need to embrace this new world of work and what it means, the new talent contract, and align the way that we are doing stuff, the way that we are working. But don't dismiss your HR folks, because HR is challenging, especially in the agile space, because the question is, what part of HR are we talking about? And that is twofold. So when we talk about HR, on the one hand, we have HR as a function. So that's your HR organization, your HR professionals. And then we also have HR as a discipline. And that's your HR practices, your performance management, your recruiting, your talent management. And when we talk about bringing agility to HR, you may have heard that term, agile for HR and HR for agile. So what's behind that? So agile for HR is really about how do we bring agile practices and values and principles to the HR department. So the way that HR works, the way that HR is organized around value streams, and so on and so forth. So it's bringing your Scrum and Kanban and other practices to the HR organization. The other part is HR as a discipline. So that's really about HR for Agile. So how do we translate those Agile values and principles into our HR practices? How do we align our HR approach to the Agile way of working? And those are two completely different ball games and different challenges. And that's also some of the confusion that we see often, that Agile folks don't differentiate between the two. For them, HR is just one thing. So they think by bringing Scrum to the HR team, they're going to fix their performance management approach. But one doesn't necessarily mean the other. So yes, to be fully agile, you have to address both. We have to work in an agile way, but we also have to fix our HR processes to really leverage business agility. What other questions or comments do we have from the group? If there are no other questions, I just want to say thank you so much for participating. And if you have any additional questions or things that you want to discuss in private, just ping me. We are here to help and answer any questions that you may have. And make sure to download the white paper because it's going to do a deep dive into it. It has things in there like how to use capacity allocation to prioritize people topics and so on and so forth. So you get much more information out there. And again, you can ping me at any time. Thank you so much. And I'm just handing over to Ross here.
Yeah. Thanks for your time, Fabiola, today. Thanks to everyone for attending. I do want to